What's up, good people, Vlad here. Would you like a CPU cooler that cools well but doesn't break a bank? Well, who wouldn't? Actually, I got one right here. It's the AK400 from DeepCool. It doesn't cost a fortune, but let's see if can it keep your CPU cool enough. In the box you will of course find the cooler itself. It's a single tower 120mm cooler, which looks like an AK620 younger brother. In terms of accessories, DeepCool includes mounting hardware for modern Intel and AMD platforms. There is also a spare set of metal fan retention clips if you feel the need to upgrade to a dual fan setup in the future. The thermal paste is not supplied, as this is pre-applied to the cooler's base, which I obviously wiped away during my testing and forgot to record while it was there. But yeah, it comes pre-applied and you gotta trust me on that one. DeepCool uses a 120mm class heatsink as the base for the AK400. The heatsink size is 120 by 45 by 152mm set. It uses 4 6mm copper heat pipes to cool down the CPU. These heat pipes are directly in contact with CPU, apparently for faster heat dissipation. DeepCool squeezed the central two heat pipes closer together than the outer two. This is designed to bias heat extraction potential towards the center of a CPU's heat spreader, which can possibly make a difference depending on your specific Intel or AMD CPU. The fins on the heatsink are manufactured using a matrix array design, according to DeepCool, which actually are these squares on the heatsink. Besides looking fancy, this will control the pressure profiles throughout the fin array to some extent and thus perform better. The fan used here is 120mm, the exact model is FC120P, and it's a fluid dynamic bearing fan, which in practice should last you a long time. It is of course a PWM fan with speed range from 500 RPM all the way up to 1850 RPM. And it's also equipped with rubber on each corner, which is used to prevent any vibrations the fan may produce while working. There is no RGB here, it's a regular black fan, although you can attach another fan with included fan clips, and DeepCool also offers FC120 fans with RGB as well, so you can always spice it up a little bit later. Top of the cooler has a plastic cover to hide the heat pipes, and thus giving it a sleek look with only a subtle DeepCool logo in the corner. The installation is fairly simple. LGA 1700 mount here, 4 black retention plastic pieces hold the Intel backplate in position. The metal bracket is then screwed into position using the specific screws and mounting holes. With the fan removed, the AK400 heatsink can be screwed onto the retention bracket. No thermal paste applying is required as it is pre-applied to the cooler's base, but as I already mentioned, I used it already and wiped it, so I am putting paste again. The 120mm fan is then clipped into position and connected via its 4-pin PWM cable. The overall mounting is solid, and the small size of the cooler means that RAM and VRM interference looks to be a non-issue for any motherboard on the market. So here are the results in the Cinebench R23 ADA64. It was the 30-minute test and also average in several games. Also compared to the bigger brother, the AK620. Test system is an AMD Ryzen 9 5900X, just to show how this little guy handles such a beefy CPU. And yeah, I know I showed you how it's mounted on an Intel CPU, but I tested it with Ryzen 9 5900X. This single 120mm fan running at its 1850 RPM top speed hits around 41 decibels noise, but it's not bad, but it's not quite quiet either. But hey, it's running at insanely high speed, so it's to be expected. Temperatures were in check, but although higher than AK620, considering that this is a smaller cooler, again to be expected, but it actually held pretty fine. So this little cooler aims to be a simple, low-cost CPU cooler that offers value-oriented performance instead of bombarding you with fancy RGB lights. And it does that job very well, especially with the price of only 35 euros and a 3-year warranty. The design is kept to minimal, which will appeal different type of audience, performance is there, but I would suggest this cooler for mid-range builds just to be safe, as cooling a beefy CPU like AMD Ryzen 9 or Intel i9 is a task for a better cooler like the AK620 or an AIO. It doesn't mean that this is a bad CPU cooler, on the contrary, it is extremely good for its price, but it has its purpose and place, and above all, it will not hurt your wallet, so it gets my recommendation for mid-tier builds. Also, there will be a white model available from June, so stay tuned for that. Anyhow, that is all for this time, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as it helps a lot, like and share the video, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Oh, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them down in the comments. See you!